Hello everyone, my name is Charles. Today I want to introduce the Decadal change in phytoplankton production in Pacific Arctic region from 1950 to 2012. And first I want to introduce the few terms. The first is the primary production, which will be so-called PP later, which means the amount of organic materials in an area, and the organic materials will be produced by the phytoplankton. And the second one will be the integrated primary productions, which will be so-called IPP later. And in the definition of this paper, because they have the profiles, so we have to use the integration of the toxicity data to the different PP data, and the interval will be the IPP. And the next is the subsurface primary production. Next one will be so-called SPM. And first we have to look at this plot. In this plot, we can see the green line, and which is just see the green line, and it means the profile A, and the y-axis is the depth, and we can see there is a peak. It's called SCML, which is the subsurface profile A maximum. It is very similar to the SPM, and it both located in the neutron climate in the regions. And the next thing is about the light level. The light will be penetrated in the ocean. So in the surface, they have we call the revoltic zone, which has strong sunlight, but in the aphotic zone there is no sunlight. And the region that we have to mention in this paper is the Pacific Arctic region, which is yes, we showed in this picture. The red side is the tropical basins. The orange side is the southern Chukchi, yellow side is northern Chukchi, and the west section is the blue. The light blue is the purple shelf, and the purple side will be the Canadian basin and Chukchi plateau. And the goal is to indicate the potential decade change in both vertical PP profiles and seasonal IPP. And this is the definitions of the time and the data collections, because I want to know the relationship between the PP and the time table. So we just collect the 340 stations in these papers, and the distribution of the station is not uniform, because 70% are collected in the summer due to the weather or the ice in the winter. And further, I'm talking about the vertical profile of the PP based on the light table. First, I want to introduce the X zone. It will be talked as the normalized PP, which the maximum PP will be seen as the value of 1, and other PP will be relative to 1. And the Y zone will be the percent of the light table. And how to see this plot? We can first find the peak of the line, and we will show in a red circle we can get the SPM in this plot. And next we have to see the color of the line, and different color means different seasons, and you will see the seasonal trend of the PP. So first I have to introduce the southern part of this region. So in this plot we can see this region. We have both sides in this plot in the spring, and its peak is going higher in these regions. But the significant thing is that in the late summer and fall, they have the in this plot we have to see in X zone is the season, and the Y zone is the IPP. And the different colors means different light level. And in the blue part means the light level is 100% to 50%. So there is over 50% of PP located above the 50% of the ocean in the late summer and fall. And next we can see there is a peak in this red circle. We can see the spring and the earlier summer, which is July. has a very significant peak, and August and the fall have the peak in the surface, and they also have 50% of PP located above 50% of light level. Yes. And the next thing we can see very obvious SPN, the subsurface primary production maximum in this plot. So, but there is another thing: is the blue part is just like this, just like the southern Turkey is have biggest in the surface, but it will be declined by the percentage of the light level. But the green side is a very is different. It is homogeneous distributions in this area. And we can see the difference from others. The earlier summer have more than 50% of PP located below the 50% of light level. And the other area is will be shown in north part, which is the purple show, Atlantic basins and the East Siberia Sea. So in here we can see there are two peaks in the spring, and also we can see that the August and the September will have the highest peak in the surface and decline by the percentage level, light level, and it still have a sign that both level shows the 50% of productions located above the 50% of the light level. And the next slide is due to this numbers of stations is very less. So one data shows the maximum in the surface, and one shows in the place which is light level is below the 1%. So this is a little bit strange and is unusual. And so we just need to see, due to the earlier summer's data, just 3 data, so we don't need to see the earlier summer, but we can see that the late summer have the 65% more than others and have more than 50% PP above the 50% of the light level. And the next is, due to we don't have the spring and earlier summer data, so we have to see, we just can see there have maxima in the fall, in the surface in the fall, and it will decline by the percentage of the light level. And it also shows that there are 50% of PP located at the 50% of light level. So this is another thing we need to discuss, the decadal difference in the vertical profile of PP. First, if you want to know the decadal difference, they have to repeat the observation and overlapping measurement, and there are just only 2 areas that we can do this in this area. So the first is the central channel of the southern Yushih Sea, and this, in this plot, with different color means different times that we have been getting the collections. And we have been seeing, first we have to see this left plot. As we get the data from the 1959 to 1960, and they have a very obvious peaking here. But as the time goes, 2004 to 2007, they just have a surface, there will be a maximum in the surface, but decline as the dip. And so this is the trend that has been getting different here. And in this plot, we have seen that as long as the time, the y long is IPP. And the signal here is means it just choose these two data to because they have the significant difference here, so we choose both these data into this plot. So, and in here we can see that there are about 8 times more than the previous data in here. The next we are going to talk is the financial transaction. So we collect in different times, 1993, 2002, and 2004, from shelf to Canadian basins. And we can see that in the 1993, the still covered by the ice and have about value is about 30, and is at above the 2 centimeters. And in 2002, and we can get the data is very high in this area, but in this area the ice just retreat, but it has been coming back, but it's still less than 10%. And the next is the 2004, which has been very different from the previous slide. They have more or less PP in this time, and you can see in the satellite data, the sea ice has been retreated during the time that I get in the observations. So this is our conclusion. The most productive area will be the Sherco basins and Chapter Shelf. The rest will be the less productive area will be the East Siberian Sea, Canadian Basin, Chapter Plateau, and this is due to the nutrients being bring from the Pacific Oceans, and because this place is no port, so they will get less nutrient from the Pacific. And the next things that we have been shown in the previous slide, we have been talking about this change, and we can see that it has been get high in B because we suggest that that have been having a boom before the ice retreat due to the thickness of the sea ice is getting thinner and thinner, and so the light can get through the ice and get to let the phytoplankton under the ice can make the photosynthesis in the earlier period. Then the next is the subsurface, near surface PP maxima.
Is it the last slide?
Yeah.
Final slide?
Yeah. Near surface PP maxima is for across these regions, and here shows in this area, you can see just in the blue part, you all have the species maxima in the surface. So the next is the depth of the constant repeat observation of decadal trend, because we want to know the decadal trend, we need to repeat observations, but in this area we still didn't know because we have less repeat observation. So this is the date of our these pictures. Thank you.
Okay.
I want to know what is the SPN. SPN, what is it?
Repeat.
He wants to know the SPN. Oh, the SPN is the subsurface primary. The subsurface primary production maxima is SPN, and it is very similar to the SCNL, which will be located in the nutrient pine, and it will be formed after the surface phytoplankton boom. Before this week, it will be bloomed here, and later you will be having subsurface primary production maxima later in the nutrient pine later in that region.
Jaden.
In your slide page 31, I think, why the color bar scale is especially in 32?
Means you want to know the
next page.
this different.
The color bar.
This one?
Yes.
Okay.
Why the color bar is 0.1 to 0.32, and then 3.2 the circle.
Can you repeat again?
My question is why the color bar?
on
the bars scale is 1 and 3.2 and go on.
I understand. You want to know why we designed the color bar like this.
Yes.
So I didn't know because I'm not the author of this paper.
Have you answered?
Yeah.
Okay.
So how do you collect the data of primary production in this research?
He wants to know how I collect the primary production data in this research. And in my data collections, we get the data from different databases, such like having cruise data and the previous data. So we'll select the data from this database and choose that have been measured the PP. So we just choose from the big data set, and we just didn't know how they collect the data, how they collect the primary production data.
Sorry, I don't understand what the graph in y-axis is IPP means.
You mean
Yes.
she wants to know this plot what the IPP means here?
Yes.
In different ways, in this plot, the IPP will be seen as if we see in this area to this area, you will get the IPP in this region. But we follow these things, all the PP here is 100%. So the whole thing will be the total IPP here. Because we got, it usually is a table that shows the PP and what's that? And the light table, and but the PP is shows as percent. So as we get more, we think the whole is 100. So they will get in this place. You will get the relative percentage in that part. Maybe I need to see the paper again. Sorry, I can answer very clearly.
Volunteer question.
What do you think will happen after the change of PP in this case?
Repeat.
He wants to know what will be happens after the PP has been changed in this region. And in this paper, has been mentioned that because the PP has been changed, and you will be influence the food weight in this period, because if the boom will be get earlier and the creature it should be in that period will be no food at the later period.
And I want to ask about, you have a chart, a figure that is about the data between 1959 and 2004. And I want to know, we all know that there are significant difference between these two data, but do you know why, what caused this result?
First, she wants to know what caused this the difference between these two lines here. I'd say very sorry I didn't take very clear look in this slide, so I will answer this question next time.
This is actually a relatively complicated topic. the good thing about his presentation is he actually tried to explain all the figures very well. So he explained it axis, and then he talked about the data. So from his talk, I think from here to roughly when he was talking about these kind of plots, I was very able to follow you. Okay, but later on there was some difficult part. I'll talk about this later. So the overall, what in my point of view, what your talk definitely need is to reduce the content. That was too much. Okay, so you use 13 minutes. That was far too much. And did you make this plot yourself?
Yes.
Okay, so these are the plots made by himself. Okay, so therefore I would, and on top of that, you spend 30 minutes and you talk fast. So that was actually again makes your talk difficult to follow because you talk a lot and you talk fast. That's difficult to follow, and the topic itself is complicated. So first, reduce the content. So you have to think. Usually in this kind of non-professional topic, you have to think what are the contents that deliver a clear message. That's something you need to think about. So for example, here, you spend a lot of time here. So you have to, if you think this is important, then, for example, here in your conclusion, you talk about what are the most productive and less productive areas, but this is, I don't think you show this in your data, in your presented data. So you can, because your conclusion is quite specific, so you can, based on your conclusion, to think what are the key message you want to deliver to the audience, and then based on that, to reduce the content. For example, here, this is the first part. That part is easy to follow. But starting from this part, it's actually getting a little bit messy, especially this. So here you are talking about decadal difference, but because it's a little bit messy now, so you have to think what are the key messages. And actually, the response of audience will give you some clue. For example, what are the figures everybody was asking? Or at least some volunteer question asked would be this one, because this one is deliver a very clear message. So that would mean if you want to reduce the content, other figures might be omitted. Okay, and regarding your self-made figure, that's also a reminder for everyone. It's very nice to see you preparing these self-made figures. However, these are actually, I cannot see this when I was standing back there. It's far too small. So make all the text bigger, okay? And then because your topic is related to spatial difference, it's always good to show a mini map somewhere here. And with the target area highlighted. And then another thing you have to keep in mind is this place is not somewhere we see every day or every month. It's really new to us. So it would be nice if you can say, this is that Russia? Okay, this is Canada? I don't know, Canada, I guess? So it would be great if you can add some country name to orient us. Otherwise, I was actually a bit lost, and especially, and this is actually very small. Because you talk about a lot about these names later on, but because this was so small, I actually didn't know where you are talking about, here, there.
The word on the top is big.
Yeah, but I don't, it's big here, but later on, you have to think about the way. If you think this is big enough, then later on you have to show it somewhere when you talk about the results. I actually am not talking about this place. I think I'm talking about here. The first time you show this, these are so small, really, really small. Actually, Another thing I would like to remind you is, for example, this is a great example. Very often, when you are giving presentation like this, you like to use, for example, let me show you the figure you made yourself. You like to have a legend. It's so small, sorry. This big. Okay, you like to have legend like this. You like to use legend. That really means I need to look for my eyes in a short period of time. I need to look for two places. I need to look at this first, and I need to look at this. However, if you look at the way other people prepare their slides, they skip legend at all. Legend means 图标. They just print the name of the data next to the curve. So it will save us time to read your graph. So it's always good to print the label just next to the curve and make it big, 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 okay? And lastly, I think at least 3 of the questions ask, what is IPP, what is SPM, what is... That means you use too much abbreviations, even you think you explained it well. But these are not the kind of abbreviations we use every day, like a DNA, COVID-19, we know what that is. This is new to, very strange to us. So if you really need to use SPM, then it would be great that you print it again. I don't know where you print in small mark again. Print out the full name on the slide somewhere, so we can remind ourselves SPM means. Okay? Okay, thank you. Hope to see your improvement. We are